Hey guys, Roller or Taylor here, and today we're back with another Division vendor reset. So I just want to say before we start this one is thank you so much for all of the support and feedback you gave me on the first one. And in this one, I'm going to try and improve it based on that feedback that you gave me. So again, if you do have any feedback that you'd want to let me know about, then please use the comments below and let me know. I only want to improve the content for you guys as well as keep it fresh on this channel. So anyway, let's get straight into it. So at the special blueprints vendor this week, we have a classic M44 carbine, an ACR blueprint, a stamina mask, an electronics mask, a flash hider blueprint, a holographic tan blueprint, and a performance gear mod blueprint. I'd probably recommend picking up an ACR one. It's a pretty solid assault rifle. Obviously there are better assault rifles out there, but if you were to pick up anything, then I'd probably focus on this. So over at the special equipment vendor, we obviously have the usuals. We have a Centurion with Expert and Cool Headed, a Pecan with Adapt and Talented, a Cassidy with Brutal and Ferocious. If you were to pick up anything again this week, I would probably recommend this if you don't already have a Cassidy. It's probably one of the better rolled ones out there. So you've got Brutal, headshot damage is increased by 12% when using this weapon, and Ferocious, damage against elites and named enemies is increased by 10%. And obviously the Cassidy talent is double trigger, fires off both barrels in a short succession. So this isn't a bad PvE shotgun if you were looking for one. The Liberator this week is rolled with responsive and vicious and sustained. Not a bad one, not the best. If you were to buy this one, I'd probably recommend rolling off the sustained talent for possibly something like competent and using this again as a PvE assault rifle. The Historian this week, we all know how good it was last week, has rolled with disciplined, dominant, and history repeats. Obviously we all know about that one. We also have a MP5 ST with self-preserved and talented along with hurried. Not a bad skill sort of healer weapon, but apart from that it's not really worth it. A custom M44 with intense and unforgiving along with skilled in the free slot. Now that's not a bad PvP mask of the Nomad here. That is obviously if you use the Nomad gear set. It's rolled with crit hit chance and burn resistance with a high firearms roll. Again, not too bad. It could be alright for PvP. You could roll one of these off. I mean, either are good stats, but you only really want one. A really good Deadeye chest piece if that's the build you're looking for. It's rolled with a fairly low stamina roll, exotic damage resilience, and a great ammo capacity for the minor attributes. Like I said, pick this one up if you're looking for a Deadeye chest plate. This week we also have a specialized backpack, a very low roll on the firearms, but it does come rolled with skill power and burn resistance. So maybe the only thing you're looking to re-roll on that is one of the major attributes. We have a fairly good pair of PvE Savage gloves here, rolled with assault rifle damage, skill haste, and enemy armor damage. I'd probably roll off skill haste for either crit hit chance or crit hit damage depending on what you use it with. If you're happy with the major attributes, it might be worth rolling or re-rolling one of these to get a higher version. We have a very good prototype firearms mod here rolled with skill haste. Now this is almost the new armor. If you haven't had a look into that, then I highly recommend you do. It makes a big difference putting one of these on all of your gear. Along with that, there is also a first aid ally heal performance mod, again a must buy. There's a fairly decent extended magazine this week as well, rolled with magazine size, crit hit damage, and rate of fire. Something that might be worth picking up if you don't already have a decent extended magazine. So guys, I'm going to try something a little different this week. What I'm going to do is try and keep it into categories. So we're going to do gear now, then we'll do weapons, and then we'll do the miscellaneous. So let's get straight into it. Let's have a look at some of the other weapons that are on sale this week. So in Dark Zone 3 this week, we have a military MK46. This is rolled with unforgiving, destructive, and predatory. It's got a fairly decent damage to targets out of cover percentage at 14%. This weapon screams PvE. One thing I would probably re-roll is predatory. Now, 35% over 20 seconds is good, but there's definitely other talents you could roll there. And my recommendation would definitely be competent, as it's a fairly high skill power requirement, but on the free slot, it's not going to require anything. This was at the Dark Zone weapons vendor in Zone 3. So in the advanced weaponry vendor, we have a tactical UMP with brutal, commanding and ambusher. Ambusher isn't the greatest talent, but it's a bit better than commanding unless you're building towards commanding. So I'll probably roll off commanding for another DPS type talent, and you've got yourself a fairly good UMP there. Along with that, we've got a very good PvE ACR with fierce, vicious and determined. You could probably roll off determined for something like competent, because again it's in the free slot, or whatever you fancy. But that's really the weapons for this week. Now we're going to move over and have a look at some of the gear. So now we've moved on to gear, there really wasn't too many weapons to point out this week. In Dante's Run safe house, we've got a fairly decent refresh mask. Obviously refresh is all healing is improved by 30% when in the last health segment. It's rolled with skill power and disorient resistance with a very high firearms roll. I'll probably roll off disorient resistance for something else, but this isn't a bad refreshed mask if that's what you're looking for. Sticking with gear, and in DZ06 safe room, we've got a Predator's Mark mask rolled with skill power and blind death resistance, a fairly low stamina roll, but you could easily make use of this. Along with the mask, we also have the chest, a fairly low stamina roll again, but rolled with skill haste, all resistance and increased kill experience. It's going to be a bit of a dodgy one to actually get any use out of, but skill haste is fairly good. Increased kill experience is good if you're farming for experience, but the stamina doesn't really do wonders. We do, however, have a fairly decent defense holster, rolled with 1267 stamina, fairly high. Same for electronics, the firearms is on the low side however. The major attribute is health, so a decent roll there. So in the Dark Zone special vendor within Dark Zone 8, we have a pretty much god rolled AlphaBridge rucksack, really high electronics roll on it with great skill power roll as well. With this one I would probably recommend rolling off bleed resistance for something else, but if you're not looking for skill power then make sure you roll off the skill power attribute. But apart from that, this rucksack is a must buy if you're an AlphaBridge user. If you do need 2 more pieces of AlphaBridge, then you can always buy the AlphaBridge knee pad as well that comes with exotic damage resilience. It's a shame because the stamina is fairly low. You'd probably have to rock these attributes here and up your stamina, but that's just my choice, and like I said, that's only if you need 2 pieces of AlphaBridge. This again is at Dark Zone special vendor inside Dark Zone 8 safe house. So at the Dark Zone special vendor within Dark Zone 9, we have a lot of Tactician stuff, starting with the most amazing Tactician's knee pads I've seen. A really high electronics roll with skill power rolled on it as well. Some great knee pads for any Tactician's user. Along with that, we have a Tactician's Authority pack, and a fairly respectable electronics roll as well, with health, so a fairly decent bag. The mask is rolled on skill power, but a pretty low electronics roll. But guys, if you're looking for any Tactician's Authority this week, then make sure you head to Dark Zone 9 safe room in the Dark Zone special vendor. I highly recommend some of these bits, mainly the knee pads, but the mask and the bag aren't too bad either. So that wraps it up for the gear this week. Let's move over to the gear mods and the weapon attachments. In Dante's Run safe house, we have a 6% sticky bomb explosion radius. Now, if you're one of those guys still trying to find a use for sticky bombs, then make sure you pick this one up. Within the base of operations for performance gear mods, make sure you check out this sticky bomb damage. Increased by 4%, again, like I said with the other one, if you're looking for something to improve your sticky bomb, then make sure you pick this one up. This is in the gear vendor within the base of operations. Another great gear mod this week is the prototype firearms mod on the Dark Zone vendor within the base of operations, rolled with a fairly high skill power and a fairly high firearms roll. Again, if you're looking for that increased skill power, make sure you pick this one up. The last mod I'd like to point out this week is this one within the DZ 40th Street East checkpoint. This is a ballistic shield damage resilient mod increased by 4%. So if you're a shield type guy, pick this one up. Only 21,000 Dark Zone funds. So now moving on to weapon attachments, the first one being in the advanced weaponry vendor within inside the base of operations. So a fairly decent extended magazine this week with 110% magazine size, 4% crit hit damage and 2.5% crit hit chance. I definitely recommend picking up this one. Not everyone's going to have the Phoenix credits for the other one down in the vendor within the terminal. So yes, everyone's going to have 168,000 credits. Make sure you pick up this extended magazine. So the last couple of attachments I'd like to point out this week are within East 61st Street checkpoint. This week we have an extended magazine rolled with 110.5% magazine size, 3% crit hit chance and 4.5% reload speed. A very good one if you've got the DZ funds. And we have a very good Omega rifle suppressor. This suppressor I'll highly recommend picking it up. We have an okay-ish C79 scope with increased crit hit damage by 18%, 2% accuracy increase and a 4.5 optimal range increase. And that about wraps it up this week. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this vendor reset video. Again, if you have any feedback, then let me know in the comments below. The main bit of feedback this week is whether you like me to do it in order, as in weapons, then gear mods, and then weapon attachments. Or if you'd prefer me to do it in area, so we've got the LZ safe houses, and then we do the dark zone, whether it's the checkpoints or the dark zone safe houses. Either way, let me know in the comments. I really do appreciate the feedback. You're only helping me improve the content for you guys. But guys, if you did enjoy this week's vendor reset, then let me know either by clicking that like button or leaving a comment. If you're new to this channel and you want to see much more of The Division, then make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with it, whether it's vendor resets or state of the game recaps. I do it all. But until next time guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.